CSS color. CSS uses color value to specify a color. Typically, these are used to set a color either for the foreground of an element, that is its text, or else for background of the element. They can also be used to affect the color of borders and other decorative effects. You can specify your color values in various formats. Following tables tells you all possible formats. The first format to specify your color is making use of the hex code, and I believe I've already did an example for you. When we are talking about the CSS 2.html the other time, we talk about the color. We use something like #36c, or I use something like #000066. So this is what we refer to as what? X color. And every X color is equivalent to a color. Like this #000, it means what? Black, color black. If I use #6f like this, it means color white. So every color has their own X code. So you can specify a color via its X code, or you specify a color via its color name. So instead of using #FFFFFF now, I can decide to say white. So it's still the same thing as #FFFF. And if I don't want to use white, I can decide to specify its S color code by saying #CSS color code. So that's what referred to as the S code. And on this PDF, we have various type of S code that we believe you'll be interested in. So these are various S code. Can you see? This is an S code. But make sure that when you are using any S code in this list now, you will see that there are more than up to thousands of S code. So if I want to use this S code now, 66cc99, I'll put # at the back. So instead of using, or in case there are some colors you don't know what they are, what it stands for, you don't know their color name, but you can, with the color, when you see the graphics of the color, then you can be able to specify the color name, and now you can just # there, and you have that color. Even though you don't know the color name, then you can still use this S code. So that's just about the S code. The second one is the short S code, and the example is this. So this, what you are seeing presently right now, is an X code, but we also have short S code. S code is what? It has 6 digits. It has 6 letters, rather. #. Then after the # you have 6 letters. But the short S code has #3 letters. So like the first example that you met here is a short S code. Look at it. #36c is a short S code because that's 3 letters. So there is what we refer to as a long S code, and we also have the short S code. So like this example is a short S code, and this also is also an #6a7. It's also a short S code. So to get the list of other short S codes, you can search Google. You can just say HTML short S code. So Google can give you the list of various types of S code that we have out there. So short S code. So Google can give you the various lists of short S codes. So let's open one of these. Let's open this page. So look at this now. For aqua, the S code that is 6 digits is this. Its short S code is this. For black, this is the S code. I've already told you this the other time, and this is a short S code. O. For white, the S code is this, and this is a short S code. So instead of using a S code, you can also as well use a short code. So another thing that we have is the RGB percentage. We have the RGB percentage also. So this is just so here. So instead of using, when you say color, instead of using the short code or the S code, you can as well use the what? The RGB percentage. So in this format. So this kind of thing, you can also search Google on RGB percentage color. So they will give you different colors and you see the RGB file. So we also have the RGB. So without the percentage, to make use of the ordinary RGB. And the last one is the keyword. What we refer to as the keyword. The keyword is just the color name. Example is what I did the previous time. That I said red, I can say color red. I can say color blue, color black. That means I'm using the color name. They call it color keyword. So you can use the keyword for a color. So if you know that the color you want to use for a particular text that has H1, for both H1, H2, H3, and paragraph, for a text that is inside that tag, if you know that the color you want to use is aqua, you can just put aqua there. And if you know the color, the kind of color you want to use, maybe you know that you want to use color purple, then you could just replace this red with what? With purple. So that's just the color keyword. So the CSS code, I've told you that this is an hexadecimal, is a 6-digit representation of color. So that's just about the S code. And these are various S code. For black, this is color name. It's the same thing as the keyword, color keyword. So these are color keyword. All these things that you are seeing here is color keyword. And these they are approximately the color code. So for each of these color keyword, it has a representation of this S code. This is an S code. So this is an S code. So another thing that we have is a CSS color / the short S code. This is a color, as in this is a keyword, a color name, and this is their short S code. So the long S code, this is a S code, and this is the short S code. So it's still the same thing. Whether you use the long S code or use the short S code, you still have the same thing. So, but this time around, the short S code, this is shorter form of the 6-digit notation. That is the shorter form of the normal S code. In this format, each digit is replicated to arrive at an equivalent 6-digit value. For example, #6A7 becomes #66AA77. So for #6A7, it gives you the same color as #66AA77. A hexadecimal value can be taken from any graphics software like Adobe Photoshop, JASC Paint Shop Pro, or even using advanced paintbrush. Each hexadecimal code will be preceded by a pound or an # sign. Following are the examples to use hexadecimal notation. So these are short hexadecimal code, and this is their color, the color name. So instead of using this color name, you can as well as use this short S code, or you can as well use the long S code. Then the CSS color / the RGB value. So when you want to, another ways you can represent your color is making use of the RGB value. So for black now, if you want to use the RGB to be RGB into bracket 000, so the color value is specified using the RGB property. This property takes 3 values, 1 each for red, green, and blue. The value can be an integer between 0 to 255 or a percentage. So for RGB value, it takes 3 values, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, in a different proportion, and they can also be the same proportion. So, but you also know the first one is the red, the second one is blue green, and the third one is blue. So the RGB tends to mix color to give you the color name, to give you a particular color. So it will mix these 3 colors to give you a particular color name. So for black now, you have RGB into bracket 0, 0, 0. This is for the red, this is for the green, for the blue, and the yellow, and the aqua. So you can search on Google for HTML RGB for color names, so they will tell you. But one thing I'll just tell you is this: instead of wasting your time looking for X code or the short S code or the color RGB, is since you know the color name of whatever color you want to use, why can't you just specify the color name? You just say color, you just say red, pink, blue, depending on the whatever color you want to use. So instead of using the S code or the short S code or the RGB or the RGB percentage, you can as well use the color name directly. So now, building color codes. You can build millions of color code using our color code builder. So to build color code, you can use color code builder to build color codes. So these are just a diagram specifying different colors. You will see their pictures of different colors, and you will see their picture as in the color codes on them. So if you want to use this color now for your test, let's say for example now you want to use this color for your test, then you know that it's color code what? It will be hash. You are going to add the hash sign. Hash FFFF33 will give you this color that you are seeing presently now. So in case you need a lot of colors and you don't even know their color name, you can come here and look for the look on the picture. So this picture will be able to tell you whatever color you want to use, and once you see the color, then you will see the color name, the color code name on it. So we have a lot of them. So but note, make sure you use the hash sign as previous for any hexadecimal or hexadecimal code, be the long hexadecimal or the short hexadecimal code. You choose above, e.g. 00CC00 should be used as hash 00CC00. So that's all about color code. So the next thing is setting background, setting your web page background using CSS. The reason I didn't explain much about the color is because we have been using it since. I'm just trying to tell you, when you see ash, when you see red, when you see, you may be confused. That's why I just try to tell you how the meaning, the reason for all this kind of color. But right now, to set a background using CSS, this tutorial will teach you how to set background of various HTML elements. You can set following background property of an element. You can set, there are a lot of properties for background. We have the background color properties, we have the background image properties, we have the background repeat properties, we have the background position properties, we have the background attachment properties, and we have the background properties. So the background color properties is used to set the background color of an element. The background image property is used to set the background image of an element. In case you don't want to use background color like red, blue, green, purple, you can use an image you already have as the background of your page. We have the background repeat property is used to control the repetition of image in the background. How you want your, if you want your image that you use as your background to be repeating itself, then you make use of the background repeat property. We have the background position property is used to control the position of an image in a background. We have the background attachment property is used to control the scrolling of an image in the background. And we have the background property is used as shorthand to specify a number of other background property. So the first thing is setting a background color. Following elements which demonstrate how to set a color. You will see that the code right now, this code right now, for paragraph, they use a style. They said the background, this is the syntax to set the background color. They said background slash color, background color. And I've told you, whenever you want to set for any function, normally this time around, they make use of what? They make use of the inline CSS inclusion. Inline CSS inclusion. These are examples of inline CSS. That's why I say that the inline CSS inclusion will start with styles. Then it's going to have the property, and the property will have a value. And I've told you that what separates the property from the value is this symbol. From this color and this red, now what separates them is this symbol. And that's the same thing you have here. So what separates this property with this with the value is this symbol. So right now, for this paragraph now, this text has a yellow background. You will see that the background of this particular text you are seeing right now will be what? Because they have set the background color to be what? To be yellow. The background will be yellow. So let's copy and let's use this code. Normally, I'm still going to use this CSS tutor.html. So, but this is an inline what? Inline style sheet. So let's save this. So let me click on my link, my site link. So let me go to, what's the name of my file? css2.html. This is it, css2.html. Can you see? Can you see that the background right now is what? Is yellow. So I can decide to change the background color to red. So I can look for, in my CSS now, I can look for red. The S code. I may not want to say red directly. I can say red, you still give it the background color of red. But let me use the S code for red. Where is red? This is my red. FF0000. That's the S code for red. So I can use my S code for red. So instead of saying red, I can decide to use the S code of red. Hash FFF 3F and what? No, 2F and 4 zeros. 2F and 4 zeros. So let me save this. So let me refresh my web page. Can you see? That's this color. So one thing you have to know is, instead of using color name, you can use S code, or you can use, you can use color code, as in X code, short S code, color name, the RGB value, RGB percentage. You can use anything. So right now, what if I want to convert this inline style? I want to convert it to embedded style sheets. Since the previous example we have been doing, we are using embedded style sheets. It's very simple. Instead of having the style here, all we just need to do is, we don't need to have the style here. All we just need to do is open a style, embedded style. I told you it must have 3 attributes. The type. So the type will always have a value of text/CSS. It will have the rel. The rel must always have the value of what? Style sheets. And the last one that it will have, sorry, style sheets, not style sheet. And the last one that it will has is the media. The media must always be up, all. Irrespective of the way you arrange the attributes, just make sure that the style has these 3 attributes: the opening tag of style and the closing tag of style. So right now, the name of our tag is paragraph. I'll just say P. It doesn't have class, it doesn't have ID. P as our selector, P. Then this time around, we are not trying to give paragraph color, we are trying to give it background color. Then we are going to use this. So this time around, since we have already declared our background to have a property of this, our paragraph, we have already, under our style, we have already declared our paragraph to have a property of this. We don't need to include the style here, because the reason we use this time, the other time, is because we want to use an inline style. But right now we are not trying to use inline style, we are trying to use a embedded style. So we have converted this paragraph now, we've converted it to what we have here. So right now, this paragraph, what will it have? Since we have used P as our paragraph now, the P, all property the did have, it has a background color of this. So by the time we save this and we refresh it, it will still give us the same thing as the previous example. So let's refresh this to still give us what we have here right now. So either you use the inline CSS or you use an embedded CSS, it's still going to give you the same. It's still going to give you the same thing. So that is just so to set a background image. Normally, I've told you now to set a background color. So you make use of the attribute instead of, you make use of what? Background/color to set the what? The background color. So, but to set, in case you don't want to use background color, in case you have an image that you want to use as your background, the first thing you are going to need to first do is you have to locate the image on your system or your device or whatever phones you are using. You have to first know the image you want to use as your background here. So you have to know where the image is. So right now, the image I'm going to use, let me see where. So the image I want to use is on my desktop, and the name of the image is penguins. Penguins.jpg. You see that is a JPG image. Penguins.jpg. So that's the image I want to use as my background. So it can be in any folder, it can be anywhere, but just note, for the course of this tutorial, my own image is on the desktop. So you must first note where the image is. The next thing you are going to do is upload the image to the server, because the file that need it is on the server. Your file that you are using to run this, the page you want to display is on the server. The name of the page is css2.2.html. This is the page that will display the image. So it's on the server. So your own image that you want to use as a background image of this test must also be on the server. So to do that, I'll go back to my www directory. I'll go back to my www directory. I'll click on upload because I want to upload a file. I want to upload the image. So I'll go to the desktop. What's the name of my image? The name of my image is penguins. Penguins.jpg. Penguins.jpg. Can you see? Penguins.jpg. Just note the name you used to save it. Penguin.jpg. So I will click on OK. So I'm going to wait till it's finished uploading. So what I'm trying to do right now is the image I have on my system now is what I want to use as my background image. So that is why I have to first locate it. After I locate it, the next step is I go to my www directory, I click on upload, then I will upload the image, I will send it to my server. So that means since the page you are trying to use to display the image is also present on this server on your site, on your www directory, your image also must be present inside the www directory. So you wait till it's finished uploading. So can you see it has finished uploading, and the name of my image is what? Penguins.jpg. But note the capital letter, the P starts with capital letter. Note the name, penguins.jpg. So right now, to use background image, I've used background color and I've teach you how to use it. So right now I want to use background image. So instead of the property to be background/color, it's going to be what? Background/what? Image. And the value will be what? It will be URL. The URL of where that image is present in. The URL of the what? Of the image. So let's copy this code and use it. So instead of background color, and right now we'll ask you to use background image. So right now, background image is our property. Then our value is what? Is the URL. That is to say, the name of the image. Is the name of what? The name of the image. So inside this URL now, the name of the image you want to upload will be inside this place. So you have URL, then the name of the image will be here. So right now, what is the name of the image? But note, the image that you want to use as your background image must already be present in your server. So let's go to our www directory to see maybe our image that I want to use is present there. You'll discover that, what's the name of our image? Penguins, the image that I have, that I want to use as my background image is penguins.jpg, because I've already uploaded it, should be there. This is it. So this is my image, penguins.jpg, is already there. So what's the name? You put the name here. Note, when we are using background color, we use background color. But now we are not trying to use background, we are using an image that we have on our server to represent our background. So here now, you just put the name of the image. So what's the name of the image? I can copy this so that I don't want to make mistake. Because the P is capital letter. Penguins.jpg. So let me save this and refresh my web page. So if I refresh my web page now, it's still loading. Can you see? The image is there. But you may not be wondering that how come my background image, how come the image does not show? You will discover that it's because the image I'm using here is very, very big. Let me show you the image. Can you see the image? The image is very, very big. It's only this top that you have here. This top here that display. Can you see? It's the top that display. Because the image is very, very big. The image is very, very big. So it's only the top of it that display. So make sure that any image you want to use, make sure it's of what? Of a very small size. Make sure you have compressed the image to a very small size. The reason you are unable to see all this full thing is because the image I'm trying to use, this image, it's very, very big. So it only takes a small portion of it. Because the text you are trying to give a background color is very, very small. So it only takes a portion of the image, and it's displayed them. And it displays them. So that's just about background. That's about background. That's about making use of background image. So another property that a background that you can have when you are trying to import, I've told you that there are various types of a background. When you want to set a background, we have a lot of properties. We have the background repeat property. So right now we have talked about the background color, we talk about the background image. The next property that we are going to talk about for background is the background repeats. And background repeat, we have the properties of repeat. So you can use no repeat value for background repeat property if you don't want to repeat an image. In this case, we want to repeat an image. That's why we say background repeat. We give it a repeat. But if you don't want to repeat that image, we can make use of what? Background repeat. We can set the value to be what? No repeats, so that it will not repeat the background image. So if I can as well use this property in my code. I can as well use this property in my code. The background it repeats, and I set the value to be what? I set the value to be what? Repeat. So that means this background now, once it's finished loading, assuming it's small, by the time it's finished, let's say it's small, it's smaller like this. Assuming it's finished loading here, it's going to be repeating it. It's going to be repeating it. But if you use background repeat, you set it to no repeat, then that means if it's finished around this side, it's not going to, if the image is very, very small, it's not going to repeat itself. So that is the reason for me making use of the word, the background repeats. So another thing that we have is you can just run all this code. But right now, the URL is very, very different. So another thing that we have is the background position. You can position your background. So another property on the background is the background position. Right now, I give the background position 100 pixels. So let me refresh my web page. Can you see? So the position of what display in this image now, this image is very, very big. This image is very, very big. So I use the position 100%. So the position of what it display, it now come down. It's now come down with 100%. It now display around this position. So I can send it to 200%. It will come down again. It will display. So I can set the position to display in this image with background position property. So with background position, I can display the kind of position to display in my image. So with background position. So that's just about the background position. So another thing is, instead of saying background position 100%, I can decide to say to calculate based on the left and the top of the position to display. So look at this example now. It demonstrates how to set the background image position 100% away to the left. 100% away to the left. That is in this background image position of this this picture now. With this code now, it's going to specify how to specify the background pixel away from the left. Background pixel from the left. And 200 pixel down from the top. 200 pixel down from the top. From the top, 200 pixel down from the top. So that is what this code. That is what it is. So, for the case of theory, please just go through this contents. So right now I'm trying to but let's not say I don't want to use paragraph. Let's say I want to use body. So do you know that body also is a tag? So for my body, and I've told you that anything from this place to this place is a body. Anything from this place to this place is a body. So if I make use of body here, and I make use of body closing tag here. So if I set my background image of my body in the CSS right now, so that means this background image now will be set to what? To everything in my body. So it's not going to be set to ordinary everything I give paragraph. It's going to set to the whole page body. So that is how you will do what? Background image of your page. So you see what it does now. It will full the whole page. Can you see? It will full the whole page. The reason you are seeing it that this thing now, you see that it repeats here. You see that it repeats here. It's because of what? It's because you make use of what? The repetition. So I've already set it to no repeat. Let's use repeats. It repeats. It's still the same thing. So let's remove that. Let's remove this line. Repeat. Let's save and refresh. Still the same thing. So So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove this background position. I don't want to set a position. I just want to use a background image for my body. And I've told you my body is what? Is the distance from here to here. So everything on my web page, it will have that picture as its what? As its background. The reason this text is the only one that is having this picture before as a background is because I only place that background image in the paragraph, and this text is under the paragraph. That's why the text is the only one that is having. But right now I've placed that background image on the body. So, and the body comprises of everything on this page. That is why all this page retain the what? The background image as what I gave it here. So right now let me save this and refresh. So to give my web page ordinary background image without position, can you see? So I've given this web page this background. So these penguins that you are seeing on my desktop that I upload to my server is having the page is having the background. So whenever you want to upload the background picture, whenever you want to use the background picture, the first thing is for you to do is let the name of the picture, let that picture be present on your server. Upload it to your server, www directory, and know the file name. Then using this code, you can specify for the body, if it's the body, the whole of your content, your page that you want to set that background to. That's it, the whole of your page. You want the image to be displaying as your background picture. Then the tag will be under the body. So this property will be under the body, background image. So by the time you press body open tag, but if I did not use body open tag and body closing tag, it's not going to set. The background image is not going to set. But because I've told you that the normal way to divide your web page, HTML web page, is what? Start from HTML, the head, the body. So that is why you are able to see it. So anything I wrote inside this body now is going to, because the body already has the what? The background image of penguins.jpg. So everything is going to be on the background. So that's just about the background image. So another thing is to set the background attachment. Background attachment determines whether a background image is fixed or strews with the rest of the page. So right now what we are trying to do is this. There are some sites that if you are even strolling, if you are strolling your page, the background will just be fixed. It will not stroll with the page. But there are some background that when you stroll your page, the background image that you have also will be strolling with your page. So you set that with the what? The background attachment property. So right now, if we set our background attachment property as fixed, even though we are strolling our page, let's set the background property of our page to fixed. So let me write a lot of content. Let me write a lot of content. Let me write a lot of content. A lot of content in my body. So let me write a lot of content in my body that require me to scroll. So everything, all my content is also inside my head and in my body, rather. So let me refresh my web page. Can you see? It requires me to scroll. But you see that as I'm scrolling, my background image is not scrolling with it. It's only the text that is scrolling. It's only my text that is scrolling. Can you see? It's only my text that is scrolling. My background image is not scrolling along with the text. Why? Because I set the background attachment property as what? As fixed. But if I set the background property, if I set it as strews, let me set it as strews. Instead of fixed, let me give it strews. Strews. Let me save this and refresh my web page. Let me refresh my web page. If I send my background attachment property as strews, you'll see what will happen now. Can you see? My background is going to be scrolling along with what? My text. Can you see? It will be scrolling along with my text. So background attachment is a property that is used to determine whether your background image is going to be fixed, Even though you are strolling, even though you are strolling, maybe the background image will be fixed, or the background image will be strolling. So like right now, when I use the background attachment strolls, you discover that my background image is strolling along with my text. But if I use the background attachment as fixed, then that means by the time I'm strolling my page now, it's only my content that is going to be strolling. It's only my text that will be strolling. But the background image is not going to be strolling along with it because I use the background attachment of fixed. So that's just about that aspect. So the next thing is setting the font using CSS. This tutorial will teach you how to set fonts of a content available in the HTML element. You can set following font property of an HTML. The font family property is used to change the face of the font. The font style property is used to make a font italic or oblique. The font variant property is used to create a small cap effect. The font weight property is used to increase or decrease how bold or light a font appears. The font size property is used to increase or decrease the size of the font, where the font property is used as shorthand to specify a number of other font property. So right now, we are starting with the font family, to set the font family. Following is the example which demonstrates how to set the family of an element. Note what they use right now is they make use of the word, the inline CSS. But right now, we are just going to use their code in the inline CSS and we are going to convert it to what? Embedded CSS. So let's just copy their code. Wait, so let me just copy this. Let me see. Let me have a paragraph. No, let me use header 1. So in my CSS, let me declare a h1 also. Let me give it h1. So let me write a text h1. This is it. So this h1 now. This h1, I want to give it a color. My h1, every h1, I want to give it a color of. So let me give it a color of red. So my h1 now, this is it now. This content is going to have color red right now. So apart from color, since I'm not talking about color, I just want you to see the difference. So I now want to give it a font family because we are talking about the property font family in certain font family. So look at what happened now. We have Georgia font family. We have like 3 fonts under the font family. And I've told you when we are talking about HTML, when you are giving fonts with 3 different kind of fonts, the reason you are doing that, normally a font should have 1 font. But we are only doing this before a font can be given to a particular thing. That font must always be must already be installed on your device, whether you are using a phone or a system. So what the system did is, what it does is this. Look at it. By the time this code, by the time we are running it, this is it. We have a color red. So it will now choose a font color of Georgia. But it will first look at your device if the font called Georgia, if it's present on your device. If it's not present, then it will try an alternative, Garamond. If Garamond also is not present, then it will try the last one, Sheriff. If Sheriff also is not present, then it will now use the default font. But if Georgia is present, then it's going to use Georgia. If Georgia is not present, then it will go to Garamond. If Garamond is present, it will use Garamond. Then it will jump Sheriff. So this is just an alternate font. So in case one is not present, the other will be present. So that is why we make use of an alternate font. So whenever you want to specify a font for your text or anything in your HTML document, you make use of the word, the property font/family on CSS. Font/what/family. So if I use font/family and I set it to Georgia, then that means I'm saying that this is it should have a font called Georgia. But if I use all this comma, what I'm not trying to say is that in case there is no Georgia, then it should use another type of font called Garamond. If there is no Garamond, then that's when it should now use serif. So that is what we refer to as fonts family. Let's save this and refresh our web page. But I think I have all the fonts in my system. Then I think it's going to by the time we run this code now, this is it. We have a font called Georgia. So let's refresh our web page. Can you see? This is it. So this font you are seeing right now is what referred to as Georgia. So if I don't want it to have Georgia, if I want it to have Garamond, I'll just use ordinary Garamond. So right now, let's save our page and refresh our web page. Can you see the font you are seeing right now is Garamond? So I have all the 3 fonts. I have it installed already on my system. I'm still using the background image. That's why you can see background image, because my body is still there. My body is still having a background image, and I still use body in my tag. So that is why it still have a background image. But this text is the only one that has the H1 property. It has a color red, and it also has a font family of Garamond and serif. So the next thing is setting the font style. Following is the example which demonstrates how to set the font style of an element. Possible values that a font style may have is normal, italics, and oblique. So when you set a font style, the possible value that it can have is normal, italic, and the oblique. So let's set for this our H1 now. Let's set the font style. So the font style now, let's give it italic. So you will see that the font now, this is it. I believe you already understand what we refer to as italic. Even in Microsoft Word, it will be slants. Can you see it is slants now? It's because we set what? We set the font style as italics. So it's possible we set the font value, the font style value, we set it as normal also. So that means it's going to be normal. And the last one is we set it as oblique. So let's see how oblique, let's see how it looks. Let's see how it looks. Because you understand how normal looks. So slant is just to slant, and normal is just to write the sentence well. Oblique is almost the same thing as italics. Oblique is almost the same thing as italics. So that's just about the font style. So how the styles you want, whatever the style you want to give, the value must either be normal, italic, or oblique. So that's just about the style. So the next thing is setting the font variant. So just note, these are all the properties that your CSS can has when it comes to setting fonts. So that's why I told you that whenever you use a property, like this selector that we use now, H1, how many properties have we given it now? 3 properties. So a selector can have more than 1 property. I've been telling you. So it can have a color, it can have the font file, it can have any property. So, but whatever property you specify for H1 here now, it's only H1 that will have it. Even though you use H2, H2 will not have it, except you use H1, H2. That is when H2 also will share this property. Or you declare the property for H2 separately inside the CSS before you start using H2. So that's just about that aspect. So the next one is the font variant. So this demonstrates how the font variant of our elements. So possible value of font variant is normal and the small cap. Is possible value of this font variant is the normal and the fonts, the small / cap. So let's use the font variant small / cap. Let's use it and see how it looks like. Font variants. So these are just certain fonts. Can you see? It changed everything to what? To capital letter. Font variant. It changed everything from small letter. It change it to what? To capital letter. In small letter, you want to change it to capital letter, then you make use of the small cap. You set it as a value for the font variant. So under the font variant, you set the small / caps as a value under the font variant. But if maybe you type something in capital letter and you want to change it to small letter, then that's when you make use of what? The caps / what? / small. That means you are trying to make the capital letter that you type to change to what? Small letter. So you can try that yourself. And you can set this font variant to normal. So if you use capital letter here, by the time you are running your code, it's still going to give you capital letter. And if you use small letter here, by the time you are running your code, you still have small letter. So that is the what? Setting the value of normal for the font variant. So the next thing is setting the font weight. The font weight property provides the functionality to specify how bold the font is. Possible values could be normal, bold, bolder, lighter, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, and 900. So the font weight can have all this. So if I want this text that I wrote here now, if I want it to be bold, all I need to do is what? I will set the font weight. I will set it to what? I will set the font weight. I will set it to bold. Font weight. I will set it to bold. So right now, it's going to be bold. It will be thick. Can you see? It will be thick. So let's just run this code. They set this is bold. They set these three things. They set it to different things. They set this font weight as bold. They set this font weight as bolder, and they set this font weight as 900. So let's see how it works. Let's just run this code. Let's see how it works. Let me just delete all this. No, let me first copy it somewhere, so that in case I need it some other time, I'll be able to see it. Copy it somewhere. So let me save this and refresh my web page. You see that this one is bold, this one is bolder, and this one has a font weight of what? Of 900. So this is bold, this is bolder. So that's just when you are setting the what? You are setting the weight of the font. So another thing is the font size. So instead of saying font slash size, you can make use of ordinary size. So let me just copy this, paste it here, paste it here. What I'm saying is, instead of, normally, when you want to give this a size now, this H1 a size now, you can say font, you can use the font slash size. You can give it a value of 200. Font size is equal to 200. That means you are trying to say the size of this text now, since it's H1, since the selector is H1, and you use H1 here, you are trying to say the size of this is 200. So that's how you set a font size. How big a text is. That's how you set the size. So let's refresh this one now. Can you see? It's very, very big because we give it a font size of 200. So instead of saying font size, I can decide to use ordinary size. So that's what I'm just trying to tell you. So if instead of using font slash size, you can decide to use ordinary size. Can you see? But it doesn't work. So that means there is a mistake with everything I've been doing then the other time with font slash size, as in with size. So you can't use size. You make use of what? Font slash size. So let me give this one to font slash size 500. So that means the best, the property name for size is font slash size, not ordinary size. If you use ordinary size, it's not going to work. But whenever you want to give a particular thing a property of maybe a particular selector, you want to give it a property of size, then you must use the syntax font slash size. But if you use ordinary size, it's not going to work. So we've used font slash size now. We set the value as 500. So let's see how our test, how it looks like. Can you see? Very, very big. Can you see? It's very, very big. So that's just about the font slash size. Then another thing that we have under the font size is the font, setting the font size adjust. font size adjust. So this property enables you to adjust the X height to make font more legible. Possible value could be any number. So whenever you are setting the font size adjust, the possible value could be what? Could be any numbers. Another thing that we have is the font stretch. This property relies on the user computer to have an expanded or condensed version of the font being used. Possible value could be normal, wider, narrow, ultra condensed, extra condensed, condensed, semi-condensed, semi-expanded, expanded, extra expanded, and the ultra expanded. So for this example now, you can just try it on your home so that you'll be able to understand what we are trying to talk about on the font stretch. But just note, all these examples that we listed on this PDF is using what? The inline CSS. So you can use it as well like that, or if you like, you can also convert it back to what? An embedded CSS. So whenever you have style inside any HTML tag, whenever you have a style as an attribute inside any HTML tag, then that is an inline CSS. But for the external, for the embedded CSS, that means you will have declared your style on your header. You'll have declared your paragraph style on your header, then you'll just be using the property that you set inside this style. You're just using it there. So another thing that we have is the shorten property. You can use the font property to set all the font property at once. So making use of the fonts. So when you use the font, then you can set all the property at once. So the next thing is manipulating text using CSS. This tutorial will teach you how to manipulate text using CSS property. You can set the following text property of an element. The color property is used to set the color of a text. I've already explained that for you, and that example is what we used. That example is what we used here. Yeah, when we set the color to red of each one, when you set it to red, that's the example. We have the direction property is used to set the direction of the text. The letter spacing for it is used to add or subtract space between the letters that make up a word. So that means when you want to control, for example now, like when you have this, when you want to control the space between T and H, the space between H and I, the space between I and S, when you want to control the space, then that's when you make use of the direction, as in you make use of the letter spacing. Let's say this is a word, this is a word. So when you want to control the space between the letters inside this word, then you use the letter spacing. Then another thing that we have is the word spacing. When you want to control, let's say you have two words now, you have two words. When you want to control the space between those two words, when you have two or more words, or any word, as in when you have a lot of words, two or more words, and you want to control the space between one word to the other word, then you make use of the word. You make use of the word spacing property. Another thing that we have is the text indent property. Is used to indent the text of a paragraph. Then we have the text align property. Is used to align the text of a document. We have the text decoration property. Is used to underline, overline, and strike through text. That's the text decoration property. We have the text transform property. Is used to capitalize text or convert text to upper case or lower case letters. I've already explained these text transform properties to you. I believe you already know how to write a text transform property. I've already did that, maybe in this chapter or the last chapter, I can't remember. Then we have the white space property. Is used to control the flow and formatting of text. And the last one we have is the text shadow property. Is used to set the text shadow around the text. So, but going through this PDF, I've already explained what all these manipulating the text using CSS, what all these properties, what it does, the usefulness and how they works. I've already explained them to you. So for the cost of your learning, please just go through each of these contents for this property one by one. The settings set color, run this code and see the outputs. But note, all this code that we use here is making use of what? The inline style sheets. So for the set the color, the text color, use this code now, run it and see your outputs. Then you'll be able to understand what they did here. This text direction, run the code and see the output. So for the course of your training, because of time, we'll not be able to run all this code one by one, but I believe you can do that in yourself. But of course, I've already explained what each of these properties, what it means. You've already understand what it means. So this code will just guide you to see the picture of what we are trying to talk about. So just run them one by one and see the picture. So that's just about the test. So thank you so much for being there. Bye.